music lead up. Dun, 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 dun. Welcome to episode 33. Or no.
31.
Wow, that was epic for nothing. 31. Jeez, dude. 31 back in the saddle.
There you go. There you go. It's all right. We'll give you a freebie, man. You missed last week. It's cool.
I did. How did the duo thing go, man? How did you feel about the duo atmosphere?
It was good. I think it was good. Because it just like when there's because like obviously here, I'll be honest. Okay, here's the thing. You two have been doing this a long time, right? Like even before this show, like previous shows, right? So the two of you got this long chemistry. Like I know you, I know Kevin. I'm like trying to fit in, trying to figure this out. So the two of you can have a lot of conversations, just the two of you, right?
Right.
So with one of you missing, now it's just the two of us, right? It was two of Kevin. It's a lot easier to just like have a conversation now versus like So I think it works both ways. I think at least for the listeners, I think it's gonna be cool to have different dynamics.
This is our pre-show. We did I did a sweet fuck up intro. I called it 33. It's actually 31. But while we're here, dude, let's bang it out. The fact that this show's brought to you by King's Coast Coffee, like it always is. And hey, on the horizon, GCX. Make sure you get your tickets. Get your tickets now. And the After Dark event, which I'm told is not sexual in any way. So yeah, we're gonna put that out there. Disappointing, I'm sure, but yeah, just for everyone to be aware that it does exist. So make sure you get your tickets. I'm gonna be there. Clintus is gonna be there. Paul's gonna be there. Oh shit, that's right. Dude, I forgot about the fundraiser.
It started.
Twitch.tv/GCX event. GCX event. Get over there. Help out the cause.
Oh yeah, she's playing a little Sims 4.
Building the floor plan in Sims? That is incredible. What a great idea.
Yeah, that's great.
That is awesome. Make sure you guys will head over there every Friday for this entire month. And then the actual stream, the charity stream event. Well, the whole thing's a charity. But
marathon. Yeah, the marathon.
The marathon that you all look forward to is June.
Yep. I'll be a part of that this year.
Yeah. Sweet.
Looking forward to it.
Can you divulge what you're going to be streaming?
Honestly, so part of the conversation we'll have today is I've been trying a lot of new games.
Hell
so
yeah.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, my Escape from Tarkov's my default, and I've done enough charity events with playing that game that has a lot of like shenanigans and things that you can do with people donating and stuff because of the whole permadeath situation. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, so Tarkov's a good one. I used to do BRs because BRs are always at like quick start, restart, and
yeah, it's always
drop my gun, drop my this. Yeah.
So you were talking, Clintus, earlier about the dynamic of a duo interaction.
Yeah. So just it's a one-on-one conversation, right? And it's always when a third person is joined. There's always one person that's silent, right? Like for the most part, it's a one-to-one conversation, and the third person interjects, or the conversation swings to the other person. And so, also just like I said, I think just it's been now what are we 4 weeks, 5 weeks? This the fifth.
This might be 5.
Might be 5. So just getting that groove, and the more episodes we record, then we start having that rapport of like conversations from last week and stories from last week, and remember you said that, and how's that going? Like the follow up, right? Like. And so, I know. I mean, it's different. I think it's a different vibe, but I think it works. Both sides, both versions work, whether it's duos or trios or whatever.
Which I'm not gonna lie, we had every expectation that's exactly how it was gonna unfold. Like there was gonna be no issues with anybody having to do a duo episode. It was just gonna easily just roll out.
Exactly. And that's what Kevin said when he goes, Mike's not here. He goes, which is exactly why Clintus is here. Like we have an episode. Like if one of you guys can't make it, like today, Kevin can't be here. Like there would have been 2 weeks of back-to-back no episodes. In case
you didn't notice. So beforehand, Clintus and I were having a conversation, man. Yesterday was Cinco De Mayo. We're recording this on the 6th. I didn't do fuck all fun for Cinco De Mayo, man, and I love Cinco De Mayo.
Yeah, well, I mean, I live in Arizona, so, obviously a lot of Mexican food, a lot of Hispanic influence surrounding us. And my wife and I both used to work at a Mexican food restaurant. And so Cinco de Mayo was huge. Like they do the big tent in the parking lot, and, they'd bring employees over from other locations because they like the main location had just the giant one, right? Like same as like St. Patrick's Day at like an Irish pub, right? Like just giant tent party, and they got live music and food specials, drink specials, and it was always a lot of fun. So even like when I was younger, and obviously I couldn't drink, it was still one of those things where like Cinco de Mayo was like a big deal, right? Like just for where I worked, and so yeah, I mean it's kind of the whole thing with Taco Tuesday. Like we do Taco Tuesday every week because it's just an excuse to eat tacos.
Same.
And after a while, my wife will get creative and she's like, we're doing taco pasta, we're doing taco pizza, we're doing cheeseburger tacos, you know, or something like that. Like you take a packet of taco seasoning to anything, and all of a sudden it's taco themed, you know?
Yep.
So
I love it.
It's the Cinco. Cinco's just another excuse to eat Mexican food, and you know, others use an excuse to drink or whatever. So it always becomes like a party. It's like I had my brother and sister-in-law over. My dad stopped by with some salsa. He made like 2 different kinds of salsa and a cheese dip or a queso dip.
Dude, homemade salsa, so good.
We had like 3 different kinds. That's the best part. It's like, okay, this one's like a pico, but it's made with like heirloom tomatoes and serranos, and then this one's a puree with habaneros, and oh, dude, so good,
just delicious. I love it. The best. Typically, yeah, that's my margarita day, man. I mean, every day's margarita day.
Yep.
But that is
it's just an excuse. Like you said, it's an excuse. Like it's Friday, let's have pizza and beer, right? Like you can have pizza and beer every night, but it's like because it's Friday, you're like, you know.
We had a shoot for some Star Wars and Scotch stuff yesterday, and we were finishing it up, and Danielle comes over and goes, "So you guys want margaritas?" Yes, it's Cinco de Mayo. Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Yes. Trick question.
Well, and also too, like a lot of places will do like sales, right? So certain things will be on sale because of the holiday, right? Like, so you know, maybe I don't know. My wife does most of the shopping, so it's like, you know, maybe Corona and Dos Equis was on sale yesterday, or Carne Asada was on sale yesterday, just because you know stores know, and it's an excuse to throw a promo up, and
of course,
you know, throw a yellow or red sign on it, and people think they're getting a deal.
We were also talking beforehand. We always find that our pre-recording discussions we have to like curb because we start talking, and before you know it, we've actually gone through like 50% more stuff that we could have included, but we've already talked about. So we have to almost like just mute and wait till we're ready to go live. But my wife also used to bartend. Actually, that's where I met my wife. They say, they say, you know, you shouldn't do that, but I said fuck them, and I did it anyways. That's where I met my wife. True story. When she first got my number, she threw it away. She tells me that's not true, and I think she's full of shit. That she just like lost the number. I go, no, you threw it away.
Right.
But yeah, so she used to bartend. That was a fun time, man. I'll tell you what. So we lived in a college town. And how do I want to word this? Some frat bros, like super crass, right? But it's a college bar, so you know, like there's a specific way, right? That they have to dress to make money, similar to Hooters.
Yep.
Right. So you're in a college town. There's a atmosphere that you have that they choose to cater to. You don't have to, but this establishment chose to cater to this atmosphere, and it just so happened to be where she worked. And you know, it is what it is. She obviously made a lot of money there.
Sure.
There's a lot of money in bartending.
Yep.
And man, it was weird at first. Because part of you when I say you, part of me wanted to say something, right? Because guys would come up and say the most heinous shit to her behind the bar. She's sitting there behind the bar, and they would say, and she would always want me to come, so I would get off work right at like 11 o'clock, and she'd be like, hey, I'm working tonight, you should swing by. I'd come over, get something to eat while she's working, and just have a little bit of time to catch up before I went home, went to bed, and she had to continue to work. And you know, we just kind of in passing catch up. And man, while I was there, man, some of the most raunchy shit.
Sure.
would be said, and I'm sitting right there, and it's her place of work. Like you have to be respectful to her place of work. It's where she's making money, and I'm not going to cause waves. And I know all the bouncers there. I'm friends with them. I'm friends with the managers, and it's just not, you're not going to cause a scene. It's not the right thing to do.
Right.
But holy shit, man, when a guy leaned over the bar and looked at her and goes, "I want to eat your asshole." Excuse me?
Yeah, man. That's just. You said it was like a college area though. College town? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
so
like,
you just chalk it up to immaturity, and
I'm like, what?
You just found your dick last week. I got it. Okay.
I'm like, what? Man, I at that point. So at that time, I smoked a lot. I was like 2 packs a day. I took my cigarette, I put it down, I finished my beer. I was like, I love you. I will come back to the establishment, but I will not be at your bar. I will go to your. I will be hanging out at your friends' bars,
right.
Just like out of earshot, anywhere that's out of earshot, because I cannot subject myself to this abuse anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right?
It was brutal, dude.
Yeah, well, so my wife and I met when I was still in high school, so we were both in high school. So I was a junior, she was a sophomore, but at the Mexican food restaurant that I worked at, I was, at the time, I was a host, right? So I sat people. So you'd come in the restaurant like, "Hi, 2, smoking none," and go seat you. And she came in with her sister and her dad after a volleyball game. So they're in their spandex, they're in like their uniforms and stuff, and I seat them, and I recognize them. I know they go to my school. Her sister's a year older, and my wife was a year younger. So I'm like, okay, I recognize these girls. And obviously they're wearing their, uniforms from the high school and shit. And, just one of those things where like I'm walking through the restaurant and whatnot. And every time I looked over at her, she'd make eye contact with me and give me a little smile, whatever. She's cute and everything. That's a Tuesday. 2 days later.
You were vibing.
Yeah, for sure. But, that happens a lot because I'm in a restaurant. People are there all the time. Right. Especially people that I go to school with. 2 days later, it's Thursday. She comes back with her sister and her sister's boyfriend after a volleyball game. Same thing. They come in, I seat them. It's like, okay, these 2 days in a row, same thing. If I tell my I'm looking at the restaurant, like, dirty tables. How many empty tables do we have? I look at her. She looks at me. She smiles, and I'm like, I know where this girl sits. Like, I know who she hangs out with at school. Right? Again, she's younger, but her friends' boyfriends are my friends. Right? So sure enough, Friday, I go sit down with my buddies, and I'm just chit chatting with them, and I asked about my wife, and I was like, so what's up with this girl, Tiffany, that hangs out with your girlfriends? And here they come walking up, and she just turned bright red. She's like, "Oh my god, it's the guy from the restaurant." I introduce myself and everything, and get her number, and I come over that night at her house, and we watched Titanic on dual VHS. Dual VHS, bro. Because it's such a long movie. It's like one of the first 3-hour movies.
Oh my god,
it's like one of the first 3-hour movies, and so it's like the dual VHS. And so she had a little TV in her room with a built-in VCR in the bottom, and so we're like putting the tape in, and I'm on the floor. She's like laying on her bed right here, and we're just watching Titanic. And that was like our first little date. And that was a Friday night. And then so the next day, I come over on Saturday, and I hung out all day. I rode my bike because I wasn't driving at the time. I was 16, but I didn't have my license yet. So she lived about 2.5 miles away. So I rode my bike 2.5 miles over. And we hung out all day, and we watched MTV. This is when MTV actually had music videos.
Yes.
And so we actually sat and just listened to, basically like listening to music, but it was on the TV, right? Kind of like the equivalent of YouTube today. Like people watch YouTube, like listen to YouTube.
Pretty much. Yep. Three questions. 1, do you remember the box?
Oh God. I want to say it had Leo on the front, like, and her like.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The music channel, the box.
Oh, like the box of the cup.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no. The music channel, the box.
No, the box.
It was MTV, VH1, and the box. Those were the 3 ones.
No, I don't think I had that. Was that satellite only, maybe?
No. Fuck no. We couldn't afford that shit.
Oh, okay. I don't know. The box didn't sound familiar. Right.
So 1, admission time. I have never watched Titanic. I've never seen, and it's to a point where it's like or not to a point. It is a point of pride at this point
that you've never watched it.
It's a lot of points. It's a point of pride at this point that I have not watched it, and I want to continue this almost like to my deathbed. I will not see that movie at this point. I gotta stop saying point. Now that I'm hearing myself talk, it's I'm saying it a lot. I will not see that. Correct. And my wife was dumbfounded when she heard that. She's like, "This needs to change. You have to see this movie." Right. And nope, I won't budge. I will not budge.
Do I have any movies like that? Do I have any movies that I refuse to watch? I'm trying to think.
And it's not out of any.
I don't think there's anything that I refuse to watch. There's a ton that I've never seen.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Do you remember? We didn't have one, but I remember my grandparents had one. Specific VHS rewinders.
Oh yeah, we just put the tape in, just rewind it.
Just to rewind it, dude.
That way.
Wait, y'all didn't use pencils?
That's cassettes.
That's cassettes.
Cassettes. Yeah. I did use those. Man, they had high-speed VHS rewinders. So for movies like Titanic, you pop one in the rewinder. When you're done one, pop two in the player. Good to go.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of old movies I've never seen. Like even when I was in college, like at the time when I was in college, which I mean, we're coming up to 20 years since that's been a thing, but like The Godfather and Scarface, like classics even back then that I had never seen. And like, you know, I was in film class, so we went this whole like thing of like history of film, so we got to see all of the like evolution of like genres and stuff like that, like the foreshadowing of noir and stuff. And it's like, I feel like that's the reason why I am who I am today, where I don't get nostalgic, and there's like a lot of movies that I'll go back and watch. I'm like, they're not as good as I remember them. And I always have that feeling of like, don't go back and watch old movies, because like just have that memory of what it used to be. Because you watch it today, technology, we're desensitized when it comes to like horror, and we talk about the gore and horror movies from previous episodes. Like nowadays, you watch something that from when we were kids, it scared the shit out of us. You watch it today, and you're like, not really scary anymore,
Yeah, perfect example.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the stories of our, I guess, meeting our wives, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can share mine real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I met my wife on TikTok. That's about it.
At least it, I'm not going to say anything.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, at least it wasn't Tinder, but who the fuck am I to talk? Because technically, meeting someone at the bar is probably the equivalent of meeting someone through Tinder today.
Yep.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
fair.
Who the fuck am I to make any comment?
Well, that's funny too that times have changed, right? So like our stories of meeting people IRL at a restaurant, at a bar, right? Like mine being on the younger side, right? You obviously were older. You were at a bar, and your wife was bartending, so minimum 21, 19 if she's serving, that kind of thing. And then you had like the dating apps thing, right? And that was a thing for the last 10 years with all the different apps. And now it's like just social media, right? I have friends that people met on on Twitter, right? I have friends that were, YouTube and Twitch friends. They were my stream, and they were a mod, and we, but it worked out, right?
Yeah.
Or the fact that Paul's wife met on TikTok, but they obviously lived with proximity of each other to see each other.
You know what? So that was gonna be my next question. Thought experiment. Do you think that so it's kind of so meeting people in today with today's technology advantages, right? Larger radius. You can reach out and meet anyone anywhere, so you're exponentially like growing the amount of people you have access to.
Yeah.
Versus when we grew, like it was your immediate area. Right? Or maybe a little bit beyond, or friends of friends, but it didn't really extend much beyond that. Right?
Yeah.
But it was a lot. And I'm biased, so please don't be offended when I say I feel like it was a more real connection, just because that's what I experienced, right? You go out, you hang out with friends, you got to figure out something to do. But the flip side of that is if you're meeting someone online, damn well you better be able to carry on a conversation, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a lot in common, you don't have anything to talk about. So if you're meeting online, odds are you got a lot to fucking talk about, you got a lot of common because you're keeping communication, you're keeping a conversation going. I don't know. Do you think there's any validity or stronger connection one way versus another?
I love this conversation because this is something we've talked a lot. Because again, I met my wife when I was in high school, and we've been together now for, our wedding anniversary will be 19 years this year, right?
Wow!
Plus 5.
Congrats! Holy
Thank
shit!
You. Yeah, we're almost 20. Yeah, I was almost 20.
Wow!
But plus 5 dating. We dated 5 years, and then we got married literally like the day after our 5-year anniversary. Like so, like the 12th was
over
our
20.
Been
together over 20.
Oh yeah, together over 20. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So I missed the whole dating scene, and I technically missed the whole bar scene because we met when I was in high school, so we were together.
Good conversation.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we missed the bar scene. I missed the dating scene. Like I've never really dated. I mean, if you think about it, like we've never dated.
Right.
I had girlfriends prior to her, but it was all high school, middle school girlfriends. It's like it's not the same as going to a bar and trying to pick up somebody and meet somebody. So my perspective on this is just outside looking in, right? So on one hand, I'm definitely a face-to-face person. When I worked at a corporate office, we could do phone calls and emails. I always want to do a face-to-face meeting. I either walk to someone's cubicle to have a conversation, or I would schedule a meeting because I enjoy that. I want to see your face. I want to hear your tone, that kind of thing. But while I say that's like the best way I think to meet somebody, the profile thing is interesting because you can put in there what you like, what you don't like, what you're looking for. And so right on the surface, you can be like, obviously photos are real, but like you can see what the person looks like and you're like, oh, they're into these things. I don't like any of those things. Pass. And then you look at the next one, you're like, oh, okay, they like this, this, and this. I like those things. That's a maybe, right? Like there's the whole swiping thing.
Sure.
Like you don't get that when you walk into a bar. You're 100% going off of what they look like. So you have your type and you have what you're interested in.
That's true. I mean, when you boil it down to things like Tinder, where it is literally just a swipe of a picture, or if you consider, you see all these memes, right? It's like, I was nice to the weird girl in high school, and now we have a kid, and they're doing something silly together.
Yeah,
you don't have those interactions, or people that maybe you wouldn't otherwise have communicated with, but you did because it was a secondary friends circle.
Yeah,
that you met, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, there's an attraction here. Do you still get that? Do you lose that when it's an online thing?
I think there's a less opportunity for that, for sure. You have to be putting yourself in those situations, right? Like you have to be going out with your friends, and maybe you're not looking, but that's where that serendipity comes in. I think a lot of coworkers get together because they spend so much time with each other, and like you start to build a little bit, and then maybe you're like, you want to catch a drink afterwards, or hey, we're all going to happy hour, right? So I think as in the app situation, you're looking at like a profile. A profile is that sort of thing. It's like, here's my almost like credentials, right? Like here's what I'm into, here's what I like. The whole jokes of the meme of like long walks on the beach and sunsets, margaritas, like
right. That's
literally what someone's profile can now say, and you can like filter by interests. Like I like to go outdoors and climbing, so those are the profiles I want to see, right? Versus I'm into books and board games. So I think and a lot of people I think maybe are also more reserved because they have access to that. They don't feel like they have to go out weekend after weekend to try and find somebody, whereas now they can like literally sit on their couch and plan a date.
I will say too,
true.
There's something serendipitous about just online friendships becoming those two, because that's really what happened with me and my wife. Like I was just looking to be friends because I needed friends down here after I moved, and she happened to live in the area. We like found each other's profiles on TikTok.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, oh, you're a cool person. And then,
right.
6.5, 8 months in, we were like, okay, so this is a thing.
Yeah. So
right?
you met on the app, right? And then met face to face. Obviously, you're married now.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
You would hope.
That you did it that way. So when you had a connection over the app, and then you met, how strong, how much of a connection do you feel like you had in the virtual world compared to the connection you felt you had physically? Like when you got to meet in person and you started hanging out in a real scenario.
So we started talking casually, like I think it was end of April, early May. Just kind of casually. It was just like, oh, like cool third person. Literally what happened is I liked one of their posts, and then she tried to message me like like me back, like one of my posts back, and it wouldn't let her. So she like sent me a DM and was like, "Why isn't this working?"
Slide in the DMs,
right? But it was literally just because TikTok was being a butt. And so from there, we just started kind of casually talking, and it was like I was pretty standoffish because I wasn't like trying to look for anything anyway. I was like, I talk to people who come into my DMs because I like to talk to people in general. And then it was like, oh, like, what are you doing this weekend? And I was like, oh, I'm going to the beach. And I was like, oh, cool, where? And she's like, Clearwater. I was like, it's like 20 minutes from me. What do you mean? And from there, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, well, like if you're in the area, let's go like grab, dinner sometime. So then I think it was like 2 weeks later, it was just after GCX stuff had happened that we went and grabbed sushi, like, and wine for fun, and from there it was kind of just like, oh, this person's cool. And we just started hanging out kind of regularly. I mean, and I think part of it for me was like I didn't have as many actual friends around yet because, like I said, like we had gone into pandemic, and so I was working and then pandemic, and so you just don't do anything because you're like, oh, let's not.
Oh yeah, what a tough spot to start something.
So it was really weird in that area. But the other thing is like we are fundamentally different people too. And Clintus, I was going to kind of go there just for 2 seconds, was like, it's weird too because I am fundamentally opposite from my wife in plenty of ways that like otherwise if I'd been like swiping through an app, like you don't get the dichotomy that like makes you both grow in ways that you wouldn't otherwise. So like that's also a thing that I just wanted to bring up too, and your thoughts on that.
Also want to acknowledge that this is an incredibly boomer conversation we're having, and we realize that. I don't know. This is where the conversation went, and I'm going with it, and it feels good.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, go ahead.
That's a good point. Like, I don't think personally relationships solely online is sustainable. And I don't think majority do that. I don't think that's a normal thing to do. That's right. But yeah, I don't know. It'd
be an interesting community question. Like, like how did you meet your partner and what was your dating experiences like? Because I'm sure there's people out there that are like, I tried the apps, I met people in the bar. These these are the relationships that lasted the longest. These are the ones that I had the most fondest memories of. I'm sure it goes both ways. Yeah.
You know what? If you're comfortable with it, hit us up on Twitter and let us know. Reach out and what's your personal experiences? I would like to hear it, get a little bit of a read. I have a feeling, I mean, I'm sure Kevin knows all these analytics. Actually, you probably do as well, Paul. Our listener base is probably older, right?
I think so, yeah. But it's more of
like 30s, like late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, 20s,
beyond
30s, something like that, yeah.
20s to 40s.
Sure. Yeah.
So you are all probably
well, so that's the thing is, again, I didn't go through the dating scene, and so now I've got a 17-year-old daughter who is coming up on her 2 years with her boyfriend, and they met at school. Obviously, they're still in school. Very similar, as me and my wife dating through high school and whatnot. And same thing, like they started off as just friends. He was very interested in her, but she wasn't really into him, and they were just friends. They hung out, and when COVID happened and they all got locked down, of course they're all they have is DMs and Snapchats and stuff like that. So at first the friend group got together and made a group chat, and they were all talking with each other, and then little by little it'd be like these 5 down to these 3, and then a couple times it'd be just the 2 of them talking. Like they're in the group chat, but just her and him are talking to each other, and they started she started getting feelings for him, and so they started kind of just talking to each other, and that kind of formed that relationship, and then they started kind of dating pseudo during COVID, which was interesting. So the start of their relationship was DMs, right? Like, they knew each other from school, but they hadn't seen each other, hung out with each other for months, and then come fast forward to today, where everything's kind of back to normal, and it's like this weird. Like my daughter still likes the whole like, come over and let's just chill and be a homebody and watch TV or movies, and he's like, let's go out and let's do stuff and do things. And it's interesting to see they're doing good, but it's just the relationship's kind of changed now because it started in lockdown and now it's back to normal, and you're starting to see this difference in, like, I mean, she likes to go out, but she likes to just chill and stay at home, and he's like, I can't be sitting there still, I gotta be doing stuff,
So let me ask you this, like, the way, I mean, I know the answer for you personally. You 20 plus years you've been with your wife, it's incredible. Seeing that you missed, quote unquote, you really, I mean, I'm sure you didn't miss anything because you've been together for so long, but the idea that there wasn't an experience, and you see your daughter going through the same thing, you think it was worth not experiencing that stuff, I guess I should say.
I don't know, man. Like there's definitely been times where we've had conversations like what if, right? The whole what if conversation of like, you know, because even after we got married, I'm trying to think. I think we were both 21 and then I turned 22 a couple months later. So we got married
young.
young. Well,
That would make
again,
sense. You've been married for 20. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were together for 5 years, right? We went in high school. I went through college. We got married like my senior semester of college. We just bought a house. We built a brand new house, and like, you know, so we were doing the whole like adult, you know, storybook, the way, oh, you do this, then you do this, you know, very traditional way of doing things. And so my wife, all she wanted to do, like you asked her, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? What are you gonna do after high school? All she ever wanted to be was a mom. Like straight up, that's what she wanted. She envisioned herself having kids and being like a stay-at-home mom and like taking care of kids and stuff, right? Which I had growing up. My mom didn't work until I was 13. I was old enough to like babysit my brothers for a couple of hours, right?
Okay.
And so like once I was kind of ending college and we had our house, it was like, I mean, we're married, we got a house, I'm getting ready to finish college and get a job, right? Let's try and have a baby. And so it was like, we only were like a married couple for like a year, less than a year. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we again, it was just we had already been together for so long and we knew what we wanted. We both want to be parents. We both want, you know, and I knew she was going to be a great mom. And
and
so
that makes sense. You spent a lot of time doing you stuff.
Younger, when you were younger, I mean, you know, we were only 21 for a year. We had that one summer after we got married where we like went to the bar on Sundays. We were both off. We were both working restaurants at the time, so it was like different hours, different days of the week. We were off together. Some days we worked opposite hours, and so for a while there, we went to the Applebee's and sat at the bar and got their big freaking goblet drinks on happy hour, and that was our little time of being a married couple of at 21 plus. And after that she got pregnant, so then we couldn't drink anymore, and then it was we're parents and kids, and that was, you know, that's the path we chose. So going back and looking at like, you know, we didn't even like travel as adults, you know, like we've been on 2 cruises, but like we've only been to Mexico a couple times of 21, and it's like, you know, we look back and we're like, what if, but our whole plan always was start young, and like now I'm 40, my daughter will be 18 this year, I'll be 41 this year. We have our 40s and 50s to be like the adults, right? More mature.
When you have way more money. Right?
Yeah.
Way more time. Yeah. No, that's...
So that's kind of that was our path, right? Whereas I have friends right now literally having their first kids at 40. You know, they've lived their lives. They've been did their 20s goofing off, dicking around. Their 30s to like build a career and a life for themselves. And they're like, all right, now either they just got married and they're just ready to have kids, or they chose to wait, you know, 5, 8, 10 years. And so they're just now having it. So it's interesting, you know, you pull up Instagram, my friends are my age having babies. You're like,
I want to point out my uncle didn't have kids until he was nearing 60. So
holy shit.
What?
Now, granted, he became a multimillionaire by doing that, but
yeah.
You can choose your path in life.
Choose your path. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. I did the, I definitely did the high school thing. Although through high school I had, for the most part, a girlfriend all through high school, and then I didn't do the college thing. I did 2 years of community, which was basically just me blowing glass for 2 years.
Okay, so that's cool.
I blew glass for 2 years, and that was amazing. But I didn't do the traditional college experience. I don't regret it at all. I went right into the workforce, and when I turned 21, 22, it was just like I went from high school to the right into work, did 2 years of community, and then into a career and party. So it was like I had, you know what I mean? So it was fun. It was cool. I don't regret missing those 4 years that's supposed to be the best time of your life. I never understood that concept.
Yeah.
I get it's supposed to be. I get what it's supposed to be or what it's made out to be.
I've always wondered. I honestly wondered because I went to a private college that didn't have dorms. There was no there was no one living on campus. They do now.
Wow.
They built it after I graduated. But so the first year I lived at my parents' house and I just drove to Tempe, and then after a year or so, I was a server, so I was making good money for a kid. Like I was $100 to $150 a night, 4 or 5 nights a week. I was making really good money for not having any bills. So then I started saving. I was like, okay, I can afford an apartment. I can get a roommate, And so I ended up moving down to Ahwatukee, and living down there, which is only like a less than 10-minute drive to school. And so I moved out and started doing that kind of like adult life down by college, right? But like same thing, it didn't have the sororities and the frat houses, and there's no campus. Like the campus wasn't like ASU where it's like there's a shit everywhere and things to do.
Yeah.
It was very much, and because it was a tech school, it was very nerdy. Like, people get together to play Magic the Gathering, or there was like the 4 computers for the LAN party that, anyone could use. So people would gather around because people were playing Counter-Strike together and stuff, So yeah, same thing. Like I always thought about that. Like, what if I would have gone to like say ASU or, a traditional college, and did because I didn't want to go to college. When I was in high school, I was like, I don't want to go to school. I'm done. Right. I'm going to get certified in something, get some kind of certificate in computers, and just all figured it out, work. And then like right before I graduated high school, we went on this field trip to this school, and this guy showed me how to make a 3D model of a garden hose shooting water at a wall and it bouncing off the wall all in 3D. And I was like, I want to do that. Can I do that here? You teach me how to do that? I can get a job doing that? Like fucking sign me up. And so I went back home and I was like, Mom, get that thing. I think I was signed up for DeVry. I was going to go to DeVry and like learn some kind of like tech trade. I was like, I want to go to this place. Take that, sign that, send it back to DeVry, get our money back. And we're going to go here and like get a tour. And of course, my mom and dad are like, college? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Not part of the plan.
I know, dude. I was already through high school, ready to go to the same university that my girlfriend did at the time. And last minute, man, I just pulled the plug, and that was it. You all right?
Yeah, no, this light's tripping me out. I'm like, where's that red light coming from? There's a red light. And I'm like, is it my monitor? What is that? Sorry, it's totally tripping me out.
No, I pulled the plug on it last minute. I decided, I withdrew. I literally had no interest in education beyond. I shouldn't say education. I should say like academia, the traditional sense of education, continuing school as I knew it through high school. I had no desire to continue forward after high school, and I knew for a fact, because I'm one of 4, and college is very much, we support you, but it's on you.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. You know what I mean? To be able to afford college for one kid, let alone 4 today, is it's astronomical.
Well, that was the thing too. Is it was a private school, so it was way more expensive than like ASU and like traditional colleges. And my parents were coming off of a bankruptcy. My dad unfortunately lost a business, and so like back then, I don't know how it is today, but like back then, like you couldn't get shit for credit, right? Like we couldn't buy a house. Like we rented a lot. We moved a lot when I was a kid, for that reason. So when it came to like even like student loans, it was like they couldn't qualify for shit. So I got student loans, but it wasn't enough to cover the tuition. So we were still getting a bill. The first like year and a half, we were still getting a bill. Like, you still owe this. Your student loans didn't cover it. And so my mom and dad were like, okay, well, we'll make that payment. Like, I was accruing the student debt, but they would pay whatever that payment was. And eventually the student loans they go up. You get more money the longer you go into school. And then it was getting covered. And then I was getting like not a refund, but like an overage. Like, you have extra money. And I was like, okay, cool. That's, books or whatever. And then I was like, I'm going to pay 1 month's rent with this. Like, it was one of those things, which is, I guess, what people a lot do in traditional college, like room and board and stuff. Right.
Right.
And so, it was one of those things where, like, at the end of the whole, I got my degree and everything. I think I had $60,000, $55,000, something like that. And my parents eventually,
man, not bad.
Well, yeah, but we paid cash for multiple semesters, and then my parents eventually could qualify for student loans, and they picked up like a small loan. I think at the end I had about 60. My dad had about 15. Like at the end of it all. So I mean, it was back then. This is almost 20 years ago. $75,000 for a degree.
A lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
But it's always been kind of a running joke though, because of what I do now with YouTube and everything. It's like I technically have used my degree. Like I'm editing and I'm using film and stuff. So it's like
you're one of the few, I guess.
Yeah, it looks good on the wall. I'm still to this day one of the few that have a degree in my family. Like there's not a lot of people that have graduated.
Good for you, man. I'll tell you what, I knew for a fact what I was going to do those all 4 years. I knew what I was going to do, and it damn sure wasn't going to be going to class. And when the realization sinks in, and because I was always made all through high school, even before high school, middle school, grade school on the weekends, I was working with my dad. Middle school, you're working. Summers, you're working. So you learn early on the value of a dollar pretty quick, right?
Yeah,
you're responsible. For sure. And there's 4 of us. When there's 4 of you, getting on your parents' insurance is like, nah, bro, you ain't jacking up my rate. So, had to get your own insurance, and you had to pay for that insurance. And you learn very quickly how far your money goes and how far it doesn't go.
Yep.
And what you can and can't spend on. And when that realization sinks in, shit, this is on me. And that number, as big as it is to us now, was a hell of a lot bigger when you're 18 years old. Taking that on, right? 18, 19.
Yep.
And I knew damn well I wasn't going to be doing fuck all with that. And why would I spend that money to go drinking when I can just do it with my friends? Where, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew, because there's a couple of my other buddies, some of my best friends that were going to the same school, and we were going to be rooming together. No way would I be going to class. There's not a shot in hell. And it would have.
Well, that's kind of that's the philosophy I've had with my kids.
I was gonna.
Sorry, apologies. You're cutting out. I didn't realize you're still talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it was me deciding not to just piss the money down the tube for nothing other than spend more time with my friends that I could have otherwise spent time with. And so I was like, nope. JK, pulling that shit back. I'm gonna do my own thing, and I did, and it worked out, luckily. But I am just overwhelmingly grateful the choices that I made and the way everything turned out. I don't think I could have gone back. I know going back at that time, I would not have been successful. Going to school at that time, for me, I would have failed. No, not a doubt in my mind.
Oh, and I did too. I failed. I mean, I failed enough classes over those 4 years. Like, so the way the school was, it was year round, right? So I did 3 semesters a year. And so you can graduate faster was their whole thing, right? So it's a traditional 4-year degree in 3 years and 1 semester was like their accelerated plan, right? Oh. I only took 1 semester off the entire time. I went year round. In fact, I graduated in May in high school, and I was starting college end of June, right? So I only got 5 weeks of summer vacation, and I was right into college, right? And because I was excited about it, I was actually excited. But I failed enough classes to make up a semester. Over those years, I failed enough classes, either because I didn't do the work, didn't show up, wasn't interested, whatever, and eventually ended up being a 4-year, ended up being a 4-year thing. So yeah, I feel that, dude, because especially when you're that young, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You don't know who you are, what you want to do.
Got it. Oh, isn't it crazy that expectation is put on kids at such a young age?
Yeah, well, because you're right out of high school, so you just continue going on, right? It's just like this young staircase,
and it's an absolute cliff. Like you're just for all 12 years of academic career, or whatever, 12 grades, going all the way through. You're a senior, and then it is just a sheer fucking cliff, just drop off, and it's like, all right, you need to know what you're gonna do, and guess what? We're gonna charge you a hell of a lot of money to figure it out.
Someone had a great analogy for it. It's like K through 12 is a staircase. It has rails, right? And as you continue to climb the staircase, the rails start to disappear. Now you're like, okay, you know, I'm old enough to know not to fall off the edges and stuff. And then when you get to the top, you're at the top of the mountain, like the top of the staircase, it just becomes a rock climb. And that's adulthood and college. Like, you want to continue going, you can, but now you're on your own to climb this motherfucker, right? And so you know, good luck. Hope you have the right tools.
Good
right?
luck.
I was like, that's a great fucking analogy, like metaphor, dude. You're like, yeah,
it was absolute accurate. 100%.
So, have you
it's
been
a wild ride, man.
Yeah, right.
Good. Hey, anybody going through it right now? Good, you know. Good luck. I guess. Do you?
Have you been playing any? What games have you been playing these days?
Man, I have an incredible itch to get back into shooters again. I have been leveling through WoW Classic, and I intend to see that through. I will be. I'm keeping up with my Final Fantasy 14 PvP season. That will be completed. But I just have this itch, man, to jump back into FPS again, and I have a horrible, horrible temptation that I'm fighting to download the 200 fucking gigabyte Modern Warfare.
Oh, from like 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah. That one.
Well, you got the new one they just announced, right? Modern Warfare 2.
Which is why I want to download Modern Warfare again, because I want to play it again, because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Probably
it
gonna
was solid.
try to.
It was solid.
Yeah, I'm trying to subdue that a little bit by jumping back into Insurgency Sandstorm. Maybe a little bit of
Oh yeah, okay.
World War III.
That.
I love Insurgency, man. That game is criminally underrated. It has no business being as good as it is. It is phenomenal. I really wish World War III was a little bit more polished, but I'm slowly getting into that one as well. Battlefield 2042 is what it is to me. I don't know about you. I was an idiot. I pre-ordered that hunk of trash.
I never got into Battlefield. I was always a Call of Duty guy, so I just never really I played a few like here and there. Battlefield 1 was the only one that I actually purchased and owned and tried to play with my friends. Everything else was I played at a friend's house or I watched my friends play it, but I never really got into Battlefield. I just was always a Call of Duty fan, and it was almost like back in the day it was like PlayStation or Xbox, right? Like you had to pick a side and you were only one or the other. Yeah. And so it was the same thing with Call of Duty, but Battlefield was like I was always a Call of Duty guy and I had fun with Call of Duty, never not liked it, so I never had a reason to go and switch to other ones. And I like close quarters, more run and gun style versus the long, you know. That was one of my only complaint with Battlefield was always such long maps, and to get to the action, you die, then you have to run across the map again. And
this is definitely not the Battlefield entry to dip your toes back in for sure.
Yeah, no,
for sure. So we were also a COD household.
Okay.
Battlefield 3 and 4 hooked me. I did not invest in any Battlefields after Battlefield 4. I don't know why. I just cannot get into anything other than modern era.
I feel that.
I feel like I'm missing out on some really high quality games, but man, they just do not captivate me at all. At all. If it's not modern, I'm just not interested. It's probably a really shitty take to have, but
no, dude, I'm right there with you. Like, I don't like that's the reason why I know you weren't here for the conversation about last week about my whole MMO journey that I did, but like that was one of the major kind of like I don't want to say turn off because that makes me sound like I'm out, but like anything that's dated. Right. Even fantasy, even though I love like fantasy movies and shows like, you know, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, like I enjoy that aesthetic because it still is fantasy. Game wise, it's got to be modern or futuristic. Like I'm over the World War II stuff. I'm over the like, you know, all the different wars and stuff. Yep. Like, you know, even like games like New World. Originally, when New World was announced, I was like, I don't really play MMOs, the whole top down, looking down at the characters, but also it's 19th century. They're using muskets. Like, no thanks. Like, that fucking sounds lame. And it wasn't until I played the open beta where I was like, okay, the gameplay is actually pretty dope. And the fact that I can chop a tree, hit a rock, shoot this guy, like, I got hooked on the gameplay and overlooked the aesthetic. And then when I realized all the enemies were magical, I was like, okay, they're like supernatural, like they're fucking dead zombie guys.
Right.
Like, okay, that's a little different. But like the same thing, like the aesthetics kind of get to me where it's like there's this dated feel to it. And it's a turnoff. So I'm right there with you on that. I'm right there with you on that.
You know what? Speaking of which, I don't know if you're aware, but because I heard you and tell me when we talked about MMOs originally, and I believe I made the statement somewhere along the lines of, or something along the lines of, if you are just wanting to play the game for the sake of playing the game, WoW is the MMO, would be the preferred MMO. If you're interested in being along for the journey and are on board for a very story-driven, on-the-rails experience, 14 is the MMO for you. Did that ring true for you?
So here's the thing. I liked the just go and play of WoW, but I actually liked the way skip the cutscenes. I skipped all the dialogue. I'm just like, get to the next thing. I hate the fact that every time I went to talk to somebody, it was this cutscene dialogue thing with and no one's talking either. I'm like, I have to read this shit. Like,
it's a lot.
So I actually, of the two, I enjoyed Final Fantasy more than WoW.
Interesting.
I felt like I knew what I was doing. I felt like I knew why I was doing the things I was doing, and maybe it's because
really walk you through that.
Yeah, for sure. And also, too, the graphics are just look like cleaner. You know, it's a more updated game and engine for graphics-wise. Obviously, different style. One's fantasy, one's anime. Right. And there is technology in the game. Like, you know, my buddy might end up joining me at one point. And he's got a flying car. I'm like, this is fucking cool. Like, you know, there's tech and shit. So of the two, I think if I had to go back, let's say I had to go back and play an MMO for some reason, I think I enjoyed Final Fantasy more. I enjoyed that, like, I could switch classes. And like now I'm a miner. Now I'm out here mining and I'm leveling up my mining skill. Like I liked that. I know WoW had some of those things, but I just didn't enjoy the early like doing things. It just seemed like I was like, I don't know, you know. And again, the aesthetic too was a turnoff there too.
Interesting.
But, so I played. WoW was the mission, right? But through my day of playing WoW, everyone's like, oh, when I say like, oh, it doesn't have this, or oh, can you do this? They're like, no, but you can't in Final Fantasy. A lot of people are like, Final Fantasy has that. Final Fantasy has that. And I was like, well, fuck it. I probably should try Final Fantasy 2. And while I'm at it, I'll try Eve, since I played Eve 18, 19 years ago and loved it. Would I still love it today? Yeah.
Really?
I played it for 3 years. That's my only MMO I've ever played.
No shit.
Yeah.
Spreadsheets in space?
Yeah. So, you know, and this is before the spreadsheets were a thing. Like that's awesome. That's the joke. But so I downloaded all three and I played all three. I did like 6 hours, and then I did 11 hours of Eve because I actually really liked it.
Sure.
It's the aesthetic, bro. It's all sci-fi. It's all technology. You're going into space stations, and the music, like the sound inside the space station sounds like an eerie sci-fi movie. Like I just got immersed in the world. Granted,
hey man, that's what it's all about.
To go from point A to point B is fucking daunting. Like you're just sitting there. Like I would go in autopilot and talk to chat, and everyone's like, "Don't go to autopilot, bro. Don't do autopilot because you're going to this." I'm like, I'm in high sec. I'm not worried about it. I'm playing a new account, free account. Like I don't give a shit. I'm talking to chat. Like, but I got into it. Like I started going, oh, I remember this. Oh, I remember that. And of course, everything's different. But it connected to it right away. Right. So of the three, Eve is the only one that I would go back to. You know, and still try to play. But I don't know. I after doing those three, I don't know if I'm an MMO guy. I don't know if it's like my genre of choice.
Interesting. Damn, man. I thought we were gonna grab you.
Everyone else did too, man.
We've been talking about League of Legends.
Okay.
And you liked that aesthetic, right?
League of Legends? Oh, the movie. Oh, the show. I love the show. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Never played the game though.
Riot Games is actually developing a League of Legends MMO.
Oh, okay.
So obviously nowhere in the near future.
Sure.
I mean, guesstimation probably earliest would be 2026, maybe. Right? Down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely keep your eye, because I have a feeling it's going to, and from everything they've released, it's going to be a Holy Trinity setup, which within MMOs, you have the Holy Trinity. You have your DPS, you have a healer, and you have a tank. Holy Trinity.
Yep.
So they're going to follow that same model, right? They're a very smart development studio, very good at what they do, make great products. I am sure they are taking in everything, the mistakes that Blizzard has made, the resurgence of Final Fantasy XIV, and potentially with WoW's next expansion, WoW's comeback, right? So they're paying attention to all this stuff and they're taking it all in, and I'm sure they're going to apply it to their game. I'm really hoping a lot of people right now are excited for Ashes. Ashes is one of those titles where it's just been hype, and it kind of just dies out. It's like, I'm sick of hearing about Ashes at this point. If it comes out, great. I don't know if I'm really going to invest any time into it. We'll see how it launches, but I am looking down to Riot's MMO and really looking forward to jumping into that from the ground zero type deal. And that's definitely keep that on your radar. Definitely keep that right, because I feel like the aesthetic, while a little more cartoony, I have a feeling is going to be futuristic, more driven towards what you would draw your eye. And the mechanics are probably going to be something very similar to 14. I would imagine, not mechanics, that's the wrong word, progression. Because one of the gripes a lot of players have is, are you respecting my time?
Right.
If you're not respecting my time, I don't have time for the game type deal. And 14 does a very good job of that, in my opinion, respecting the player's time and the fact that you can be every class, right? They give you exponential amount of XP boosters, considering the fact that there is a shit ton you have to level.
Right.
And the whole philosophy behind the game is that they encourage you to step away from the game. They design all of their material to be constantly played at all times. So if you're just starting the game, you're not going to have a problem filling your lobbies with early game dungeons, because the way the game is designed, there are players constantly rotating into that, right? So
Gotcha.
You can leave and come back and not feel like it's going to be a uphill battle.
Right.
Respecting the player's time. And I imagine they're going to do something very similar. Definitely worth keeping an eye out.
So that's the thing. This whole MMO thing kind of sparked the whole like, well, now I've got the itch to just try a bunch of new games. And I kept going back to like, okay, people were suggesting, have you tried this? Have you played this? And I have to reiterate, like, I come from a first person shooter world. I haven't played shit. Like, there's just whole entire franchises that I've never touched. Like, a perfect example, I was a PlayStation guy, so I never played Halo. I've never played any Halo games. Like, none. I played multiplayer with my brother.
Video game sin.
I know, right? And I mean, it goes on. The Metal Gear Solid series, what's the Mass Effect? I haven't played. There's whole series that I've never touched.
I am envious of you right now. You get to experience all this on a much more mature brain level than me when I did.
Right?
That's incredible. Where are you going to start?
Well, I'm just saying, like, people are spitting stuff out to me, right? Like, you tried this, and you tried this. I'm like, no. And I had to reiterate, like, okay, look, I started in college, and like literally my first PC game was StarCraft. And then I found Counter-Strike in college, and then I went on the whole FPS mode. That's literally how I started it all. Like GoldenEye back in the day was my first taste of it, like multiplayer,
Yeah.
That's when I realized I liked that, but that wasn't a thing you could do on console because it wasn't online. And, so you couldn't play on multiplayer, right? Like when it was multiplayer was
split screen only.
Yeah. So Counter-Strike was my first taste of like online PvP. I'm like, this is fucking cool. I like this, right? Went down the path of like Day of Defeat, Tribes 2, Medal of Honor, and just went down the gambit of FPS, PC, man. Right?
Yeah.
And so then I got into Eve because a friend of mine was like, hey, there's this new MMO. I'm like, what's an MMO? I don't know what the fuck that is. And it was a cool game. We played that for a little bit. Then my PC broke and I had kids and I just stopped gaming. Just stopped gaming, right? And then fast forward many years later and it was like, hey guys, I'm looking to get into a console. What's everyone using? They're like, oh, PlayStation 3, Modern Warfare 2. Join us. So I bought it, got on. That night I'm fucking gaming with my friends. Like, this is so cool. This is just college days, right? Like, but I'm on my couch and it was cool. Yeah. And so from that point on, all I played was Call of Duty. Like literally the only game I bought, I got the DLC. And so every 3 months, new maps came out. But it was like Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops, Modern Warfare 3, in Black Ops 2, and just... until Destiny. Until Destiny. And then I played Destiny, and that's when I kind of get into content creation. So then I started getting acclimated to other games, right? It's like, oh, I've seen this one, I've played that one, got a PC. So I started playing like Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege. I found a right where I left off with mouse and keyboard. Like, it took me years to get decent on a controller. I got back to mouse and keyboard and was like, this is home. You know, started playing PUBG and other shooters. I was like, fuck yeah. And when Destiny 2 went to PC, that was the last time I played a console. Like, I gave my PlayStation to my son.
Really?
Yeah, I just cold turkey went to PC and never went back. I've been mouse and keyboard since Destiny 2 went to PC.
Damn.
So again, even now as a PC gamer, I have not played dick all. Like, I've only played first person shooters, and I focused on PvP for the most part.
You have so much cool shit to experience now. That is awesome.
So people started like recommending me games. I said, all right, let's time out for a second. Let me we'll narrow it down a little bit. I like sci-fi. I want sci-fi, futuristic. You know, if there's some kind of like tech element to it or something like that. If there's a combination of, you know, like whatever. So then people are like, okay, cool. So then people started sending me suggestions. I'm adding stuff to my wish list on Steam and whatever. And, you know, we've been trying some new things, but for the most part, I'm even going back to just stuff like, for example, yesterday I played No Man's Sky for a couple of hours. I only had like 12 hours in that game last year, and there's a shit ton of new content.
Mm-hmm. I have a secret, not so secret hatred for that game.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it because of the game or because of how it launched and what they did with the launch?
It's because of how it launched. So no hate to Hello Games at all. They did right by their fan base. They brought the game back. They did, for everything they did wrong, they did right in the end, right? If that makes sense. So it is no hate towards them. I think as a development studio, they did a good job coming back from an absolute hot mess. And kudos, right? The game should have never launched that way. Let's make no mistake. But they did right in the end. Honestly, man, my irritation comes solely, it is not a game for me whatsoever. Like it is not, that is not an interest of mine. So this is the silliest of takes to have, because honestly, I shouldn't have a take. It's just not a game for me, period. But I get so unnecessarily irritated by seeing individuals on Twitter just absolutely just shit a brick through their dick when No Man's Sky comes out with some fucking weird, just, oh my god, it's the fucking greatest thing ever. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. Stop it. Stop it. It's not. It's not. Shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Just shut up. And so it has developed into this thing, and it's to a point where it gets so irritating. I have like muted words, right, and unfollowed, and people think it's funny. People who I follow on Twitter who will then interact with these stupid No Man's Sky tweets, and then it ends up on my timeline. Like, damn you, motherfucker, get off of my timeline. Oh, dude, it drives me up a wall, and so that feeds my unnecessary dislike for this piece of content, and it's just a never-ending cycle. And much like Titanic, where I just refuse to try it. And also dislike Titanic because I'm sure I will enjoy that movie, whereas I am positive I will not enjoy No Man's Sky. I just refuse to give it any other take or qualification, simply out of spite and I don't know, just complete an asshole.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure.
You know what I mean? That's just where I'm at.
We've been doing this for like an hour already.
Has it been a long hour already?
Yeah.
What's the normal the normal episode for you guys?
About 50 minutes.
Oh, really? Under an hour is the goal?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Forever.
Yeah, sorry.
I had a great conversation.
So to everyone who's mad that this episode's cut short, I mean, I think you should let Paul know.
True.
Just come at Paul. Can I do one thing real quick? I found something interesting that I want to get both of your takes on this. Just real quick.
Yep, go for it.
Okay? Both of you. Top 10 sweetest TV moms.
Sweetest?
Are you ready? Sweetest.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for number 10. Number 10. Claire Dunphy from Modern Family. Number 9.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And don't ask me why, but Cersei Lannister, Game of Thrones.
Nope. Just
Number 8. Peggy Bundy, Married with Children. 7. Claire Huxtable, Cosby Show.
Okay.
6. Wendy Bird from Ozark. 5. Marge Simpson, obviously. 4. Kitty Foreman, That 70s Show. 3. Skylar White, Breaking Bad. 2. June Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver. Number 1, sweetest TV mom. Do you have a guess?
I got nothing.
No, because some of those I'm like, what's sweet about her?
I agree with you.
Oh yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah. I got
So
nothing.
according to Barstool, the number 1 sweetest TV mom, Carol Brady.
Oh,
Yeah. I can accept that one.
Oh, you guys agree with that shit?
It landed on a good one. I mean, she's
That
sweet.
is horseshit.
Well,
That is
I'm saying
horseshit.
the people they have on that list already, you're like, okay, like
Why
I
is
guess
If
Cersei
that's going to be the top
Lannister
of
on
that
this
list, if that's going to be the top of that list, I'm okay with that. Like if we're
what?
going up that list, I'm like, okay, that's a fine statement.
The sweet? No.
There are much better options, but if that's the top of that list, I'll let Barstool have Barstool things because I don't like Barstool anyway.
I think just because the Brady Bunch was a long-standing show that she just like automatically default. You don't think Kitty Foreman was more sweet? The innocent drunk mom.
I mean, she had like the sweet little voice and the like that's her, like, I don't know if that's what makes her sweet, but she definitely had more. And again, it might just be because of the, like, even though it's technically the 70s, like both those shows are technically in the 70s.
That's true. Good point. Good point.
One was filmed in 2000s, so it's a different take. She was a smart ass. She was, she was a little more like punchy, whereas
Touche.
in the show, because it was made in the 70s, Brady was super sweet. There was never shitty moments with her. There was never shitty takes with her.
I just I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me that Carol Brady is the number 1 sweetest TV mom.
Listen, it's fine.
All right, I guess we'll leave
Let
it at that.
Barstool be
We
wrong.
had-
It's fine.
All right. Can we carry over the news to next episode, or should we touch on it?
No, we can carry it over.
All right, because this is some pretty good points. I think I would like to include next episode. It's pretty hilarious. What the fuck is in the water in Texas? That's all I gotta say. Little teaser for episode 32. What the fuck is in the water down there?
Thanks for episode 31. We'll see you guys next week for episode 32. Have a great
Later,
night.
guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
Cheers.